Good evening and welcome. We have tonight here with us Ryan Kaith with KGOS, KERM Radio. This is being broadcast live on the local radio station and also on the YouTube channel. Today is Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. This is the 6th council meeting of the year, the 2nd council meeting in March. I would announce that Councilman Shane Victon has advised me that he has a scheduling conflict and is not here tonight, but we do have myself and the 3 other councilmen, so we do have a quorum. And I have asked Councilman Dennis Kelly to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the mayor's informational items, and I've been announcing this for several council meetings. The city is looking for summer help in most departments. You must be 18 years old or older to work in the parks, streets, golf, cemetery, and water departments. We're regulated, and you must be 18 to work in those departments. You may work at the city pool if you're under 18 and at least 16. You may work there as a lifeguard. For more information on this, you can visit the city website, or you can also call 307-532-5666. Again, 307-532-5666, looking for summer help for city positions. Spring is near. The city is now actively getting ready for the spring and summer seasons. City staff and crew are working on the municipal pool, the golf course, and the many parks and ball fields the city owns and maintains. Of note, please know that through the hard work of David Dent, the city golf course manager, and his crews, the Torrington Municipal Golf Course has merited an important award. Recently on golfpass.com, in the website's Golfer's Choice 2024 awards, the top 5 Wyoming public golf courses were picked. The Cottonwood Golf Course, which is the Torrington Municipal Golf Course, was awarded the #1 public golf course in Wyoming. Go to golfpass.com for more details. Thank you to golf manager and golf pro David Dent for his vision and for his management, and thank you to his golf course crews. All were able to earn this award of merit. Best public golf course in Wyoming for 2024. I also want to thank the many citizen volunteers connected to the soccer, baseball, and softball leagues for all their help in preparing and maintaining the sports fields. Without their great help, it would be impossible for the city parks crew to keep up with all the care, preparation, and maintenance the sports fields require. To all, please continue to enjoy the many recreation opportunities provided by the city of Torrington. As spring arrives, thoughts of spring cleanup arise. You'll probably hear me announce this for the next several council meetings. The city of Torrington has now released this year's spring cleanup dates. This year's spring cleanup dates are Saturday, May 4 through Saturday, May 11. City customers can utilize the baler facility for dumping of tree limbs, grass, etc. For more information, please call the baler at 307-532-4689. That's again the baler number, 307-532-4689. The baler will be open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays during the scheduled cleanup. And again, that's Saturday, May 4 through Saturday, May 11. Customers must be able to validate their city accounts with a city bill reflecting a sanitation charge and a valid ID to utilize the dump for free. But as always, you are welcome to dump otherwise for a fee. Only 5 tires without rims per household will be accepted. However, heavy truck tires, commercial tires, and equipment tires are not allowed. No hazardous chemicals or paints will be accepted, and appliances containing Freon, such as freezers and refrigerators, must be tagged as Freon free by a licensed agent. For more information, you may visit Torrington, TORRINGTONWY.gov/216/streets-sanitation or Torrington Police Department Facebook. I also want to thank Torrington Telegram reporter Jess Oakes for publishing this information on page 3 of the Torrington Telegram on Friday, March 15th. Thank you, Jess. Please enjoy the warmer weather. More pedestrians will be out, and more bicycles and motorcycles will be out. Please take extra care to watch out for them. As always, please slow down, please drive carefully, and please refrain from using your cell phones while driving. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the March 5th, 24 council meeting as published.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Councilman Patterson. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda as published, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, the consent agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda itself.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
I have a motion from Councilman Kelly to approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Councilman Patterson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approval of the agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, the agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is what we call the public forum. I see no slips in the black inbox over there, but I'd like to explain this for everybody's reference. This is a point in the agenda for non-agenda items. There is a time limit of 2 minutes, and the speaker must sign up before the meeting. This is a time for the council to listen. No action will be taken. So that's an opportunity for anyone who wants to put your application in that black box up there and have your 2 minutes before council. We will move on to the action items. The first item under the item under the action agenda items is the agreement of acceptance, relinquishment to the city of Torrington, the Highway 85 relinquishment, and I would first call on Director of Public Works, Jeff Harkins.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What's being proposed is the relinquishment of Highway 85 from the State Highway Department from, I guess you would call it, to either Fresh Foods or Kelly's all the way up to Highway 26. That area now, the highway goes over the overpass that was constructed earlier, I think completed in 2012, 2013, somewhere around in there. Slightly before my time here with the city of Torrington, so I'm kind of playing catch up on this. Basically what that means is the city now accepts all responsibilities for that section of highway, as far as pavement maintenance, any types of treatments that it would need, etc. We're responsible for everything within the right-of-way. The state now would, and already has, taken responsibility for the paved surface of the overpass bypass route. The Streets Department has already been doing maintenance responsibilities on both sections in regards to snow plowing, mowing weeds, etc., and plowing sidewalks as far as snow goes. I think we have several representatives from the Wyoming Highway Department that are here tonight. I think Buck Lamola and Kayla Martina, and I don't know who the other individual is, but I'm sure they would be more than willing to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, do I have on my agenda a lady named Kayla Martini? Are you Miss Martini? Yes. Would you like to address council, Miss Martini?
I don't have anything to add, but fuck tonight.
You may come forward, Mr. Clemela. And we all know who you are, but please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, Buck Clemla, resident engineer for the Wyoming Department of Transportation here in Torrington. I guess I got called to attend this meeting just to try to provide a brief history of everything that transpired over the last 25 years or better. I mean, ultimately, the city approached the department about providing some sort of grade separation to get across the railroad tracks, specifically citing concerns about emergency vehicles being able to get to the other side of the tracks. You had the police and sheriff's office on this side, you had the hospital on this side, and with the number of trains that were going through, there was concerns about people being able to get injured or people that were in trouble, the adequate care that they needed. So that progressed into feasibility study where they looked at underpasses and overpasses at West C Street, Main Street, and in the vicinity of East F Street. And as you well can imagine, an underpass is really not a good idea based on where our groundwater's at and trying to get rid of any water that would be in there. Looking at the overpasses, there was concerns about taking out the downtown business district. If you did it at Main Street, West C Street, you'd be dumping all the traffic in front of the school. And so the most feasible location was either an under or overpass at East F Street. They even looked at possibly doing a little of both, doing a underpass and raising the railroad grade. But the most feasible alternative was the project that ultimately ended up built. So from that point forward, it was the city's responsibility to put the question on the ballot. So sometime in the 90s, they put the question on the ballot as to whether or not the citizenry of then town of Torrington, now city of Torrington, was willing to take on a new route. And in that, we talked about a trade. That bill passed, or that question passed, I think, by a 2/3 to 1/3 margin. I don't have the date of that. I mean, that's 25 years ago. But be that as it may, we then entered into a memorandum of agreement or a memorandum of understanding with the city on what would transpire to make that trade and how it would be funded. Along with that, there were several other things that happened just as the federal government bill changed. So we ended up doing some context-sensitive amenities that were part of the project that the city had no cost in, and that's the decorative lighting on the bridge, the inlay work and the concrete and the paint to kind of make that look a little nicer. And then we had an enhancement project, which was the island down below and some of the roadway lighting. By statute, the city's responsible for any roadway lighting or maintenance of such within a municipality over 1,500 people. So that's already covered, doesn't really need to be in the agreement. But the one other sticking point was that we would bring the existing US 85 up to current standards, and that we would, and in the agreement it says, as agreed to, and I guess I wasn't a privy to that agreement, just what I was told as a underling, what it needed to be. But, and that we would sign it US 8592 alternate route. Mayor Varney was adamant that we keep that 8592 designation, so business 85 and Route 92, I guess, is what he had. Before that, he talked us into taking 92 from out at the intersection of Highway 85 and carrying that signage all the way into Torrington so it didn't dead end out in the middle of anywhere. So we did all that. Subsequent to the completion of the overpass, we milled and overlaid the project. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, we went through and we chip sealed the whole thing. And then this spring, I had a contract that was supposed to start at the city limits and go south, and noticed that there was some cracking in that road. So I went ahead and crack sealed that under state funds to take care of that as well. So I guess in that vein, I feel that we've met the spirit of the agreement as it was intended when it was initiated. And the other caveat that was included in the memorandum was that we would keep the railroad crossing at Main Street open. So, and we have done that. So I guess from that aspect, the department feels it's complied with the spirit of the memorandum of agreement, and evidently we got all the paperwork done. That's those guys. And we're ready to turn that over to you guys. As a note, by statute, the city's been responsible for plowing snow, storm sewers, roadway lighting, all that stuff on the new US 85 realignment, as well as old US 85 until such time that we relinquished it. During that time, the department is responsible for all traffic control signage, traffic control signals, and the surface maintenance. And so really, all you're picking up on 85 that we're relinquishing is the surface maintenance, and then there's really no traffic signals or anything associated with that, so it would be just the stop signs and speed limit signs and things like that that you'd have to maintain now. Any questions?
I have a question, Mr. Klima. As you know, we're required to operate in the best interests of the city of Torrington, so I'm going to ask you some questions you may or may not like to hear.
Okay.
But I want to hear your answers. I had a discussion with Mr. Eddington, the city attorney, who was here at the time in '03. Jeff Harkins, who is our Director of Public Works and City Engineer, wasn't either. I certainly wasn't paying any attention to this in '03. But if I look at the MOU, it talks about, and it's pretty general language.
Right.
And you've said that you think that WYDOT has lived up to the spirit of the MOU. I heard you say that.
Right.
But a specific question I have is, according to our city practices, we generally do crack fill one season, and then the next season do chip seal. And I know you guys crack sealed it in January of '24, right?
Yeah, just a couple months ago.
Okay. Are you guys willing to do crack seal on that?
Chip seal, you mean?
First chip seal, yeah.
I don't believe so. I mean, our chip seal program is totally independent of our crack seal program. I mean, the purpose of the crack seal is to seal the existing cracks and try to keep the moisture from penetrating into the asphalt and causing stripping and deterioration of the asphalt. The chip seal ultimately is just a friction course to allow traffic to stop. I mean, clearly if you had a wet road and there were no chips on it and it was just pavement, it would be a much slipperier surface to try to stop on than with the friction course that we put on it, which is the chip seal. I mean, they don't go hand in hand. We let district-wide crack seal projects and we let district-wide chip seal projects, and one has nothing to do with the other. I mean, as part of that crack seal job that we did, we're continuing to do that right now. In fact, we're crack sealing up by Midwest. And then when that's done, we've got some concrete crack sealing to do on CY and Casper. We also crack sealed on the Highway 151 LaGrange as part of this contract. But there are no chip seal contracts that I'm aware of in the next 3 or 4 years to chip seal any of those. So that's not our standard practice to do that. I mean, we base the need for our chip seal on the friction rating of the existing road.
Okay. So I don't want to put words in your mouth. So
Okay.
what I'm hearing is you saying is, no, we're not interested in.
That's what I would say. Within the level of
Or the
authority
chip
that I
seal.
have to say that. How's that sound?
Okay.
Well, it looked like you did the chip seal in July of 2016.
Yes.
That was the last time it was done.
Right. I might add that had the department been more diligent in getting this turned over, the city would have been taking care of that and had to done the chip seal that we did and the crack seal that we did all on their own. Just a point to
And I
ponder.
understand you have your interests to represent. So I want to have a friendly conversation.
Yes, no, I have no problem with that.
So I'm just curious, why was the delay to your asking us to do the relinquishment acceptance?
I don't know what kind of problems they had in right-of-way and getting everything turned over or what happened, and I know that there was a good amount of turnover within that program. We have a land surveyor within the right-of-way department, and he retired, and then the next guy that took his place kind of dropped the ball on it and left it behind, and then he retired, and now Kayla picked it up and went with it. Every time I talked to the previous people there, they said, well, we'll get to it. And certainly the city was in no hurry to take it over. I mean,
Yeah. I guess this, I wasn't here. but I
Right,
guess the city
but-
figured it'd be up to YDOT to make the first move on it. so,
right.
I suppose. Gentlemen, you have any questions for Mr. Clement?
I don't.
Yeah, they changed it.
Dennis?
Well, I don't think any of us were here in in '03. But I think it was more Mike Varney's railroad wanting to put the overpass in, more than anything.
Well, I think Mayor Varney pushed the point, but I think he was getting pressure from those people on the south side of the tracks as far as emergency services. And at that time, you know, we were running a lot more coal trains, and there were a lot more delays. And I don't know where it stands now, but at that time too, they were saying that by 2010, we'd be double tracked through town.
That never happened either.
We planned our bridge accordingly for it, but I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for past Mayor Varney, but I can tell you the conversations that we had within the meetings that took place, that the big push was a emergency services issue more than anything.
Well, and I think you could argue that it's been favorable for the city of Torrington. I mean, forever there's been trucks that hung up on the Main Street crossing
Right.
and those kind of things. And so I think all in all, it's been nice. It's really nice to have all those sand trucks kind
Yeah, I
of
was
diverted
gonna
that way rather than coming.
I couldn't imagine all the frac sand trucks
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah. So, I
negotiate
mean,
that
it-
intersection right now. I mean, a lot of them still use it to go south.
Yeah. So, yeah, we didn't have a Main Street crossing until 1922. I read old newspapers for a hobby, I guess. But it was interesting because at that time they were discussing an underpass, and that's what they wanted. The railroad said, no, it didn't make sense because they'd have to go 2 blocks up Main Street and take it all out, and it just wouldn't work.
Well, the bridge over the Platte River was built in '21.
Yes.
And prior to that, down by what is now G&L Concrete, which used to be Willis Young Concrete,
Was the
that's
crossing.
that's where the main crossing
Yeah,
was.
so West Sea kind of is.
Well, no, actually clear out by the
Well, it'd be the radio, or I mean by the
golf course road.
golf course road.
Yeah. And that was the main crossing. And actually, what we call the Huntley Road and the Veteran Road, 92 and 154, they turned into what once was a Laramie County highway. And then when Goshen County became a county, that transformed into US Highway 85.
Yeah.
But I still have all the old plans, so.
85 was moved over.
Right. And that job was done quite a bit later because originally 85 came down by
By my grandfather's farm.
what they call the old airport
Yeah.
Yeah.
road. It came down that way. And I want to say it was in the 60s when they built the new big curve up on Airport Hill and brought it down
Sounds right.
that way. Because in 54, I think, is when they replaced the 1921 bridge over the Platte, and then we replaced it again in 1995. So yeah, there's been a lot of transformations in the highway over the time, but
But all that aside, I think it's probably
history
time
lesson.
that we close this deal, would be my thoughts.
I'm getting a sense of council, but if you'll bear with me.
I will.
I'm sorry.
No. Mr. Harkins, do you have any questions for Mr. Clamola? That,
Well,
We
just
missed,
on, do you guys have a chip seal schedule or time frame as far as what you'd like to do repetitive wise?
we used to have a maintenance chip seal program that we chip sealed every 7-8 years. And when we went to contracting all that out, that changed because we had a district chip seal crew. We had our own spreader. We had our own trucks. We did everything ourselves. We let contracts for maintenance stockpile materials where we'd pile the chips in big piles at various locations. And that all went away and started getting contracted out, 20 years ago, I would say, or more. It doesn't seem like the overpass has been built for 12 years, does it? So at that point in time, then, it's just on a needs analysis. So our materials program does collects rut data, skid resistance. They use a piece of equipment called a deflectometer that tests the integrity of the pavement. They take cores every so often and look for stripping within the interior part of the pavement, and our whole management is based on that. We just did a district-wide chip seal job. They generally run every other year due to funding. We'd like to be able to crack seal and chip seal every year, but funding-wise, that doesn't allow it. And so we're finishing up, we just finished up a district-wide chip seal job this last year. And so I make the assumption that everybody knows our district, but to give you an idea of what our district is, we've got all of Platte County, all of Goshen County, part of Laramie County, all of Niobrara County, all of Johnson County, Natrona County, Converse County, part of Fremont County, part of Carbon County, and part of Sweetwater County. So that's our district. And those contracts that we let are through that entire district.
okay.
So you can tell chip seals don't go real far when you start looking at those miles of roads. But again, we look at it on a needs analysis based on the friction resistance that's being provided by the existing surface. And I think that runs on a 2-year cycle as far as getting over top of all the roads and looking at what that friction resistance is.
So it may be under your system of doing this, you do the crack seal, and it may be a year, 2 years, 3
Or
years
5 or 10.
before you do.
Well,
chip
to give you
seal.
an idea, I mean, here's a perfect example. So, Torrington Lingle was a narrow 2-lane, just like Highway 26 from here to the state line. And in 1998, we upgraded that to a 4-lane section, and then the feds forced us to separate that. They wanted us to put a 4-foot flush paved median between the two opposing lanes. And I said, we're going to catch all kinds of heck over that. Let's just put it 12 feet and make it a turn lane for the traffic that's turning left or coming through there. And that project was done with what we call a wearing course. So a wearing course is pretty much a single-sized, open-graded aggregate with a high oil content that allows the moisture to go through that and drain out to the shoulders. It fails in about 8 years. So in 2009, when we had the ARA funds, the stimulus money that was put out there, we chip sealed that because that was choked off. So Torrington to Lingle was chip sealed in 2009. We also crack sealed it at that time because to get that ARA money out the door, I had the idea, let's get caught up on some of our chip seal and crack seal and stuff like that. So the only work that has been done on that road since 2009 was the rumble strips that we went through when we did the rumble strike deal, 8, 10 years ago. So that chip seal that's on Highway 2685 from Torrington to Lingle presently is 15 years old. So maybe that answers your question a little better as to what our cycle looks
Yeah,
like.
it does. Mr. Harkins, do you have any more questions?
Not particularly. I think, the maintenance responsibilities are pretty clear. There is one item that's on that MOU that I don't know if you looked at, but item J says YDOT will sell 2 used trade-in plows, one 4-yard and one 8-yard equipped with snow plow and sander to the city in Torrington for their use in snow plowing. I checked around and it doesn't seem like that ever happened.
Yeah, the city never took advantage of that opportunity.
Is that off the table now, or
I can look into that. I can't answer that at this point in time. I mean,
is that just,
certainly, again, that's something that's well above my pay grade. But I have no idea on cost or anything like that, but I can run that up to district and get an answer for you on that.
whether we take advantage of it or not, I don't know. It just depends on kind of, I guess, what the cost would be.
Right.
But you, I mean, you're willing to look into that for
Yeah.
us? Okay. All right. Is that it, Mr. Harkins?
That's pretty much it. I think, obviously, the bypass, overpass, I think was a realignment, whatever you want to call it, was a good thing for Torrington, honestly. I think it does help the larger vehicles, especially now with the frac sand trucks going on. One question I would want to ask is, it's been brought up at the Urban Systems meeting, and I'll bring it up here again, but has YDOT looked into putting a signal at the terminal where, at Fresh Foods? where it enters
I do
Highway
know that there was discussion about doing traffic counts again, just like Bob Taylor had talked about at the fairgrounds during a time when the trucks are running. Evidently, when we did the last counts, they were broke down or shut down or whatever, and so the counts, the locals don't believe reflect what truly happens there.
Yeah, there is a huge amount of trucks here recently.
And as I said in the Urban Systems Committee meeting, when we constructed the overpass, a luminaire takes a smaller drilled shaft. Obviously that light pole doesn't have near the weight or flexure that a traffic signal would. And we had difficulty drilling those drilled shafts due to flowing sand at about 5 feet. So when we did that, I oversized that drilled shaft to meet the standard for a traffic foundation and put the bolts, so the bolts come in a cage and they're all bolted up and in that concrete, and put those in. So if you go look at that luminaire that's on the north side, on the east side of the road, you'll see that the bolts are there around that to accept a traffic deal. So, I mean, we did have a little, I thought that was $600 well spent back then to not have to try to pull that old drill shaft out and install a new one, so.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Could you make some kind of a guess as to the life expectancy of that roadway?
Of which one?
85, the one we're talking about.
That we just turned over?
Yeah,
You mean before it needs anything done to it?
yeah.
I would say in the next 7, 8 years, it'll need a chip seal. Like I said, we're 15 years on the Torrington lingo piece. I would guess we used basalt chips on that from the Martin Marietta quarry, and those are a real durable chip. They're the black chips that you see versus the red or tan ones that we normally use. And so I'm going to say in 5 to 10 years, you may have to look at a chip seal on it. I don't know. I haven't looked at what the friction rating is on it right now.
But as far as-
Crack seal wise, certainly what we just did, we put a good amount of quantity of crack seal in there, and I think they did a pretty good job at sealing all that up. And so that's going to make it more durable. And then a typical overlay, we designed for 15 years and expect to get 20 to 25 out of it. So based on that, in another 10 to 15 years, you may have to look at mill and overlaying that again. The project that we did prior to that was 98. That's when we rebuilt that section of roadway, and we had a lot of trouble with soft spots and things like that underneath that road, and had to go through, and there's a lens of clay that runs through town about 4 feet deep underneath a sugar sand type material. So we excavated all that out and put in new sandy material to help that drain better. And I think the only reason that we added it to our program at the time that we did was because of the memorandum of agreement. We were in the area doing stuff, we added it to that contract and did that work, and otherwise we probably wouldn't have done it for another 5 to 10 years on that, so. But we designed to a 15-year life and try to get 20 to 25 out of it.
I appreciate it, Mr. Clemlis, so thank you for
Thank you, Mayor
entertaining our
and
questions.
Council, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just have a question for Mr. Eddington. If we choose to accept this, in order to make it fully legal, should we make sure that it actually says Herb Doby, Mayor of Torrington, instead of Doby Herb?
I saw that.
The second page as well.
Yeah, both times.
It would be best to have that corrected.
Good catch.
Change your name.
Good catch. All right. Any further questions for Mr. Eddington or Ms. Strecker or Mr. Arkins? All right. I thank you for the conversation, all concerned. I would entertain a motion to approve or accept, allow me to sign the agreement of acceptance regarding the relinquishment set forth in item number 1.
Mr. Mayor, I would make that motion with the understanding that your name will be corrected.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve the or to allow the mayor to sign the agreement of acceptance for the relinquishment with the name of the mayor correctly spelled on both pages. And I have a second from Councilman Patterson. Any further discussion?
I just have one question. Will we have to annex this piece of highway now? Or is it already in the city limits?
It's already annexed.
Is it? Okay. That's all.
All right. Hearing no further discussion and having a motion and a second, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of allowing the mayor to sign the agreement of acceptance set forth in item number 1 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that is passed. Thank you, folks. Next item on the agenda is item number 2, special event permit. Judy Cummings with Sunrise Church / Goshen County Task Force for Domestic Violence is requesting a special event permit for a 5K fun run to be held on April 27th, 24 from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Applicant is requesting approval to have the special event permit fee waived due to the fact that the event is a nonprofit fundraiser for Goshen County residents. And I would call on Chief of Police Matt Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Judy met with me some time ago and started the conversation about this, and we picked this up again a few weeks ago. Looks like a great event for a great cause. I think we have a route design that's safe and keeps runners on the sidewalk. We'll require some volunteer positions so that we can just keep our visibility high enough to make sure we don't have any exchanges between cars and pedestrians or runners. And then we'll have 2 first responder volunteers. It's important that we have first responders there where the overpass hits 85 because we will need to do some traffic stopping there. I'm happy to volunteer my time for an hour to help out with that, and Judy believes she can find some other folks of a first responder ilk that are also happy to assist. No concerns with the route. I think we've got a good design on it, and I think it'll be safe and easy to pull off.
And the runners are literally on a sidewalk the whole route.
That is correct. They're going to use the sidewalk along the frontage road on Valley. They'll pick up the sidewalk right there at the overpass, take it all the way down to Main Street or 85, cross and pick the sidewalk up coming back. If you're familiar with that pedestrian exit on the overpass right there where it lets you jump off to 17th, they're going to utilize that so they don't actually have to go down onto D where there's higher traffic. So they'll be able to make kind of a quick U-turn right there, take 17th back to the east, and then down on M. Should be sidewalk the whole way. They are making those instructions in their registration and also advising runners to be on the lookout for vehicles and maintain their safety.
All right. Gentlemen, any questions for Chief Johnson? Seeing that there, go ahead, Councilman Patterson.
What I need to do is probably declare a conflict and abstain from voting on this because I'm on the task force board.
Okay,
And it's a fundraiser for the task force, so.
all right. Well, that still
So I'll
leaves
just
the
declare
quorum.
that ahead of time.
All right. Thank you for that. At this point, I would entertain a motion to allow the special event permit set forth in item number 2, and in that motion, a waiver of the fee, as it is a nonprofit fundraiser. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion from Councilman Kelly to allow the special event permit and to waive the fee. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second from Councilman Deal.
I guess I'd better do that.
Councilman Patterson is abstaining, so I'll call for a vote. Or any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the special event permit set forth in item 2 and waiving the fee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that special event permit is allowed and the fee is waived. Next item on the agenda is item number 3, ordinance on first reading relating to special event permits and fees. And Mr. Eddington, would you please read the title of that ordinance for us?
It's an ordinance amending and reenacting Section 3.04.210 of the Torrington Municipal Code, 2024 revisions relating to special event permits and fees.
Thank you, Mr. Eddington. And I would call on Chief Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We've talked about this a couple of times, I think most recently in a work session, maybe 3-4 months ago. It took a little bit of time to get this put together. Sylvia and I kind of teamed up on it and slowly came up with a draft that we think works. This really doesn't propose a ton of changes to what our current practice is, but I think it does a lot to explain it better and let folks know what the process is. And provide some clarity about what expectations are for the city and for anyone who's applying for a special event permit. I think probably the only significant change that, or I'm not even sure if you'd call it a significant change, but it does include a $40 event processing fee that would be payable by any applicant. And then if that applicant were a community event, then there would be no additional fees. If the applicant was a for-profit or event including alcohol, then they would pay the $200 fee for the special event. Fair bit of stuff here, so I'd be happy to stand for any questions rather than just repeat that to you, or if Ms. Sylvia has anything to add as well.
I think you covered it. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I would just, in the form of a question, I guess, I know that I also met with Chief Johnson and with Deputy Clerk Sylvia Anaya, because those two need to work together, because they're in the office taking the money and talking to the folks that want the event permits, and Sylvia feels comfortable that this sets forth and allows her and her staff to handle that fairly well.
Yes.
And the chief feels this allows him to do his part of this special event approval process that we have in the city of Torrington. And to me, the major thing is even a nonprofit that comes in is going to pay the $40 deposit.
Yes, sir.
Now, their $200 fee may be waived if council so chooses to do that.
That is correct.
But all folks will have skin in the game, so to speak, up to the $40.
Yep, and that's kind of consistent with feedback that we got during the work session of, and certainly some of the experiences that we've had related to special events. So I think that's in alignment with what you folks were looking for, and certainly in alignment with what our observations have been in managing the special events process over the last several years.
Well, I think it's a good compromise too, because it does cover the city costs, because there are costs anytime we have to just process this stuff and do it. But
Sure.
But it doesn't impact them in too much of a manner, so.
Absolutely.
So I had, Mr. Mayor, I had a question on the wording on the ordinance, and actually I think it's probably there in the old ordinance, but it just, for some reason, jumped out at me. 2C, first line. A special event permit may be immediately revoked by any law enforcement officer. And I'm wondering if we need to clarify that where it says Torrington law enforcement officer or something, because it just would seem cleaner that way.
Yeah, that's
Oh, okay.
a fair suggestion, yeah. That's a good idea.
Because we don't want those off-duty Cheyenne cops up here revoking our ordinances or whatever.
If we just listed that as Torrington Police Department officer, would that be appropriate?
Yeah, however you prefer, but.
And
just-
I did make some changes on that, in that it needs to impact the safety of the event, rather than, I mean, that's not something where we're looking for somebody with an expired license plate so that we can revoke an event. That's not the intention. The intention is just to make those events safe. And so that's the only aspect that would be covered there from a special events perspective.
You could have a situation where you have one individual engaged in some bad behavior and you deal with that. There's no reason
Yep,
that required the whole thing to be shut down.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And I see that language in there, Chief, where a municipal ordinance that impacts the safety of the event, so that
Yeah.
safety language is in there.
yep. I don't think that used to be there, if I recall correctly.
Now, I see on
I
page
recall the
three,
work session, it was just any.
Yeah,
I see on page three that mentions the part about if the permit is denied by the vote of the Torrington Council, then they're entitled to their $40 refund.
refund of all but $40 for the processing fee, sir.
What happens if they just change their mind then?
On requesting the special events permit?
Yeah.
You
Or
know-
if they are granted the permit fee and then they change their mind and cancel the event for whatever reason? Do they
You
still
know,
have
to be honest, I haven't really considered that question. I guess off the cuff, I would say that if someone cancels their event prior to hosting it, that they'd be entitled to a refund of all but the application or the processing fee.
All but the application.
Yeah. So if you paid $240 to host a special event and you decided not to host the event, and you came to the city and said, we no longer wish to host this, the city would provide a refund of $200 of that $240.
Okay, do we need to put that in writing then?
That's there.
Where?
Well, it's all but $40, so.
No, but it says it has majority vote, it's permit denied by the majority vote of the council. They get their everything but their $40. I'm talking about when they cancel.
What section are you on?
Page
On
3.
Page 3, item 3 from the top,
Okay, thank you.
but it mentions if the council denies the claim, but not if they just
Yeah,
change their mind.
I mean, I don't have an aversion to adding that if that's something that you think is worth mentioning. We could just do that as a separate bullet point for number 4.
Yeah,
In the event of cancellation before the events,
I would suggest if we're going to do that, I mean, there's some difficulty there with, say we had a street dance or a concert or something that required a significant amount of setup, and then it got rained out after we got it all set up, and it was canceled 10 minutes before the start. So that, I mean, the city has already put all the work into setting out barricades, shutting down streets, doing everything that needs to be done there. So I guess I would, if we're going to make that qualification or make that addendum, it probably makes some sense to put a limit on it. I mean, 24 hours ahead or something along those lines, so that we're not in a position where we've already put all the work into, and then we have a last-minute cancellation. Because that is part of that special events payment fee is for a lot of the work that goes into making that happen.
I think you just say may be refunded based upon the city's discretion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Total discretion based on each and every circumstance.
case by case then.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's ever happened or not, but
Just more general, yeah.
All right. Everybody okay with the may be refunded language?
yeah.
That's city discretion.
Now, there's a lot of word in here, so, but I know that the chief put a lot of time into it, as did Sylvia. But those are good catches, gentlemen, and I appreciate them. Any further questions for Chief Johnson or for Deputy Clerk Anaya?
Now, that time and work is appreciated.
Yeah.
And I can say specifically from Wage Committee that the chief volunteers for many things, many more things than he needs to. Let me put it that way.
So are you ready for?
I'm ready for motion,
Okay,
yeah.
I would move to approve this ordinance on action item number 3 on first reading.
All right, I have a simple motion from Councilman Patterson to approve the ordinance set forth in item 3 on first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the ordinance on first reading set forth in item 3 relating to special event permits and fees signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that is ordinance in item 3 is approved on first reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Council will now leave regular session and convene as a Board of Adjustment. The first item under this heading is Halco Construction, Inc. is requesting approval of the preliminary plat acting as the final plat if there are no changes of lots 5, 6, and 7, Block 4, Halco 3rd Edition, second filing. And at this point, I would open this up for a public hearing. And I would call on Mr. Estes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What we have here, I'll start off first by saying, all of this stuff in here is preliminary plats, with the exception of the annexation and the zoning ordinance. So what we're doing here is by ordinance, we're supposed to submit a preliminary plat. It goes to the Planning Commission, and then it goes to the council, and then it's supposed to come back as a final plat, that same series of events. So you'll have 4 public meetings in all. With these simple subdivisions and these simple changes like this when they're doing preliminary plats, it's just expensive, and there's no need for that second meeting. So I always say these are preliminary plats acting as a final if there's no changes. So if you would change this tonight, we'd come back to you with a final plat. But by the time it gets here, generally, we have a meeting at the Planning Commission, and this time that didn't happen because they were unable to meet. So that's where this is at. So I'll just get started with these. So where we're at is up here east of the ball fields, sports complex. So there's our sports complex. So what we're talking about on this first section here are these 3 lots right here. There's 3 lots platted here. On the second item on the agenda, this is the other 3 lots that we're going to be talking about. This is identical. They're just 2 different plats. They're in 2 different subdivisions. So that's why we got to do them separately. So Halco Inc. owns all 6 of these lots, and all of them are empty. What they're planning on doing is changing these 3 lots into 2. And so they have a little wider strip of land to build on. I have had no comments from any of the neighbors, and if they did, they were positive, and this has been going on for some time. But nobody's against this, and the staff would recommend approval of this preliminary plat, acting as a final plat.
All right. Excuse me, any questions for Mr. Estes? All right, go ahead, Mr.
The
Kelly.
one you're pointing out is lots 5, 6, and 7,
Yes, sir.
and they want to make that into 2?
They want to make these 3 lots into 2. So you can see right now, and it's kind of hard to see, but there's, dang it. There's a lot line right here, and there's a lot line right here. So these are 3 lots, 5, 6, and 7. And they want to move them into 2 bigger lots.
So how big a lot would that make?
The square footage is in there. I'd have to look it up.
117 by 110 on that side.
Be what?
The lots on that side are 78 feet wide, and so they would be increased by 39 feet to 117 feet.
It says 12,870 here, but I believe that's for both lots. Isn't that right, Bud? 12,000?
Yeah, I just know that
Yeah.
the ones on the other side are 80 feet, so they would be 112.
All right, this is public comment time. Are there any public comments for this approval of this preliminary plat? Any public comments against the approval of this preliminary plat? Seeing no takers, I will close this public hearing, and I would entertain a motion from council.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve this preliminary plat set forth in sub-item A here on the front page of the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion, gentlemen?
And should that motion be preliminary plat acting as a final plat?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'll restate that. I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve the preliminary plat acting as the final plat. And I have a second from Councilman Kelly. And do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the preliminary plat acting as the final plat set forth in item A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that preliminary plat acting as the final plat is approved. Next item in this public hearing section is item B. Halco Construction, Inc. is requesting approval of the preliminary plat acting as the final plat if there are no changes of lots 13, 14, and 15, Block 5, Halco 4th Edition, 6th filing. And I would open this for public hearing and call on Mr. Estes.
Again, it's identical to the last one, except it's just across the street. They're empty lots. The zoning will not change. The setbacks will not change. So I've had no public comment on this.
All right, and here again, it's just 3 lots being put into 2 lots.
Correct, Mayor. It's 3 lots, bringing it into 2. Everybody now that's calling are wanting the wider one-level homes, bigger garages, one level. So we really don't have that in Torrington. It's about the last place in Torrington we could do this.
Okay. And at this point, gentlemen, do you have any questions for Mr. Estes? This is open now for public comments for approving this preliminary plat, acting as a final plat. Any public comments for? Any public comments against? Seeing no takers, I will go ahead and close this public hearing, and I would entertain a motion from council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move to approve.
I have a motion from Councilman Patterson to approve item B here, the preliminary plat acting as the final plat. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second from Councilman Deal. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of subsection B here to approve the preliminary plat acting as the final plat signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that preliminary plat acting as the final plat is approved. Next item here is item C. Green Eagle Communications and Union Telephone are requesting approval of the preliminary plat acting as the final plat, if there are no changes, of the part of the northwest half of the northeast quarter of Section 4, Township 2, 4 North, Range 61 West. And I would open this item C up for public hearing and call on Mr. Estes.
Mayor and Council, what you have here is Green Eagle Communications, which is the owner of this whole property, but they have leased out half of this property to Union Telephone. When I originally got this, Union Telephone was the submitting applicant, but they are together. This plat actually went, where we're at here, first off, is just below the hospital here and just west of the college, back in this corner, this 500 by 500 piece of land right here. You can see 2 towers here. It's owned by one, the towers are owned separately, but the land currently is owned by Green Eagle Communications. So basically what they're wanting to do is just take that 500 by 500 strip and cut it right down the middle, east and west. And they would like to bring that into the city. If you approve this preliminary plat, their next action would be a petition for annexation by the landowner. I have had contact with the Tebbit people that own everything around it, pretty much to the west and the south. They were in favor of it. They really didn't have any qualms about it at all. So, and that's really the only communication I've had. The hospital did call me to begin with. They were okay with it, and the college did contact me, and they were okay with it. So, other than that, this went to the Planning Commission about 2 months ago, and there were a lot of questions at the Planning Commission. We did meet, and so they couldn't make a decision. So we came back, and the next week we had a meeting with Engineer Harkins and myself and all our public works people and Benchmark. And we did a Zoom meeting with the owners of this, and we got stuff worked out. They were a little confused about this 80-foot right-of-way. This College Drive is an 80-foot right-of-way. Someday, hopefully, in the future, it'll go all the way out to County Road 47, maybe. But we wanted this extended as part of this agreement. After we explained to them what was going on, they agreed to it, and they're okay with everything, and so they're approved it, and they would like us to go forward. Other than that, I've had no objections with anything. The staff would recommend approval of this preliminary plat.
So they would pay for the extension of College Drive then?
No, they give us the land.
Yeah,
An easement, right?
Yeah, that's,
It'd be a right-of-way.
Right away.
It'd be a right-of-way.
yeah, but I saw somewhere there were no cost to the city, and I said, well, that can't be true because it looks like we're going to have to build a road.
At some point, somebody's gonna have to build a road there, yeah. I don't think we can talk the highway department in.
As long as we're asking.
Can you
We've been
take
talking
that back
about
to
this.
the other previous slide?
To the picture?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where that section is.
Right on the corner by the college.
So there's the hospital, Councilman Kelly.
Here's the water tower.
So if you turn right here above the welding department at the college right here and go down College Drive,
Okay.
yeah, if you just would extend that out another 500 feet, it's this corner of land right here where these two towers.
Well, it's right next to the,
Chiropractor and eye doctor.
yeah, that row of trees right there, that's one they all took out in the parking lot now.
Yeah, that's all parking lot they're putting in now.
Okay, so it's, okay.
And I think it's all fenced, isn't it?
The,
That little,
yes, I believe it is.
yeah.
Okay, I know where it's at now.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Estes. This is a public hearing, and it's open for public comments for this approval of the preliminary plat. Are there any public comments for? Seeing none, are there any public comments against approval of this? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close this public hearing and would entertain a motion by council.
I would make a motion to approve Green Eagle Communication United Telephone's request for the preliminary acting as final plat.
All right, thank you, Councilman Deal. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilman Patterson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of the request of approval of the preliminary plat acting as the final plat set forth in item C.
I have one question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Question I have is, can we do that if that's not part of the city limits?
Yes.
We can approve the plat even though it's not part of the city?
There's wording in the statute, if you approve this final plat, it's automatically annexed
Okay.
because it's contiguous with the city. These folks have come along and wanted to petition to annex, so we thought that better route to go. A little
Okay.
cleaner in minutes.
Good question, though.
It is a good question.
All right, so we have a motion to approve and a second to approve item C. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All those in favor of approving in item number C here, approval of the preliminary plat acting as the final plat, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that approval of the preliminary plat acting as the final plat is approved. Next item on the agenda, D, petition for annexation into the city of Torrington. Sorry. Legal description is part of the northwest half of the southeast quarter of Section 4, T24N R61 West. First of all, I'll call on Mr. Estes for the annexation report.
Mayor and council, what we have here is, like I spoke just a minute ago, if you approve the plat as a final plat and it's contiguous with the city of Torrington, there is language in the statutes that it's automatically annexed. Since it's contiguous and you approved the plat and it's broken up into lots and blocks, which this one is, it having 2 lots, and it's making it a subdivision. This owner wanted to do a petition for annexation, and which we thought would be a cleaner way to go, because it's just, in the minutes, it just reads better. They're wanting to come in, we're not forcing something. So the owner wants to come into the city of Torrington. So what you have here is a petition for annexation. Part of that petition, we're required to do a annexation report by state statute 151402. And there's several questions in there that we gotta meet, and I think Mr. Eddington will read those off to you and make sure it's met that report, and he'll read these questions off to you and the answers. And then it was certified by the clerk treasurer, Ms. Strecker, as required by state statute.
Mayor and council, if you'll look at that annexation report, those are statutory factors that you have to find exist before it's even eligible for annexation. The first one, obviously, for the protection of health, safety, and welfare of the persons residing in the area and in the city or town. It obviously complies with that because of its location, and it's coming in, and so I can't imagine any annexation that is adjacent to the city of Torrington that would not be for the protection of the safety and welfare of the citizens. So I think that is clearly positive, and that's why it's marked yes. Number two, the urban development of the area sought to be annexed would constitute a natural, geographical, economical, and social part of the annexing city or town. And obviously, again, it's location, by the hospital, by the college. It is very clearly a natural part of the town, or would become a natural part of the town for all purposes. Number three, the area sought to be annexed is a logical and feasible addition to annexing city of town, and the extension of basic and other services customarily available to residents of the city or town shall within reason be available to the areas proposed. It's very logical and feasible because of its location, and it's annexed, it's adjacent, excuse me. And as you're well aware, their system, their water, sewer, and everything right there at the hospital and the college, so it would be rather easy.
Just a second, Mr. Eddington.
I have a question related to that, just for the record, I guess, is, do we provide the electricity to those towers?
Currently, the city does provide a tower, power to both those towers,
Thank you.
and there's utilities all the way around it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eddington.
Number four, the area sought to be annexed is contiguous with or adjacent to the city or town. Again, very obvious. Five, the city or town does not own or operate its own electric utility, then there has to be a franchise agreement. Obviously, it's not applicable to us because we own our own. Number six, the annexing city or town not less than 20 business days prior to the public hearing has sent certified mail to all landowners affected by public utilities within the territory a summary of this report, and that happened. I think there's even a list of those somewhere. Anyway, B, contiguity will not be adversely affected by the existence of platted street, alley, public or private right-of-way, public or private transportation right-of-way, lake, stream, reservoir, or another natural or artificial waterway. Obviously, there's nothing that's adjacent. There's nothing intervening and nothing small enough for us to be concerned about. C, an annexing municipality shall prepare a proposed report as specified. The report shall at a minimum contain the map of the area, and if you look, that's attached 2 pages back. You'll see that map. 2, the total estimated cost of infrastructure improvements required is not applicable at this time because there's no improvements requested at this time. 3, a list of basic and other services available. As we said, everything is available. Obviously, with the hospital and the college, everything is available and ready. Number 4, annual fee or service costs. That's just would be subject to any fees because they're not asking for anything right now. We didn't have to do a calculation, so it'd just be subject to fees on the books. Number 5, the property tax mill levies imposed by the municipality. It would increase 75.30 on the mill levy. And number 6, the cost of infrastructure improvements, again, is not applicable because they're not asking for anything. D is not applicable at this time. And E includes the 10 days. The notice of the hearing was published in the paper. You may or may not have seen that. And so what we would ask you to do is motion approving this report.
All right, well,
Mayor, if I may?
yes.
I just want to clarify something, because this thing's been going on so long. If you go back to 6 in the annexation report where it says that they were notified by certified mail, when I originally did this for the planning commission meeting 2 months ago or so, I sent letters to everybody, and I've personally spoken to all 3 landowners involved. I have not sent them certified mail. I can do that before this next second and third reading, or you can hold off on this first reading if you'd want me to do that first. But again, since this is contiguous with the city, and if you approve this preliminary plat and final plat, there's language in the statutes that says it's automatically annexed. If you want to do a real clean, or no questions asked, I can send certified letters to these folks tomorrow. We can put this off till the next meeting for the first reading. I just have not had a chance to get with Attorney Eddington to get his opinion on this, but I have personally talked to all three owners. This is not critical it gets done tonight, the annexation part. They wanted the plating done so they could move forward. I'm thinking they've got some deal on the land or something.
So just so I understand, we're in subsection D, and the request to council is for approval of the annexation report itself,
Of the petition.
petition.
Of the report also. We
Okay.
have to approve, you have to make these findings set forth in the report before the petition can be considered.
Okay. And then we're not going to talk about the ordinance relating to annexing till we get to number 5. So this is the first step, what we're on now, before we get to agenda item 5.
Actually, if you go back to the front of that, to where it says 15-1402, that, what I'm calling the report, and turn, it's under 15-1402A, 1 and 2. The next page is 3, 4, 5, and 6. Paragraph 6 is where the certified mailing is supposed to occur. And so this summary of this report is supposed to be sent out 20 days prior to this hearing to all landowners and affected public utilities
By certified mail.
by certified mail, it says in there. So evidently that did not occur. So I think we need to suspend and get that taken care of.
Which would, I'm just looking ahead here. If we suspend here, then we will, I guess, suspend in item number 5 on the annexation ordinance, right?
Yeah, that, we can't consider the ordinance until this report is approved.
And that's, I mean, you're the city attorney, that's your best legal opinion here for us, right?
Unfortunately, it says, that it shall, that has sent by certified mail to all landowners and affected public utilities. And it's just to give them notice. So I think that failure to do that could cause problems,
I understand that. Who wants future problems, right?
Yes.
especially with timing not being an issue.
Okay. And from what I'm hearing, Mr. Estes, all the landowners are in agreement, but we do need to do belt and suspenders and cross our Ts and dot our Is here, right?
I would feel a lot better if we did it that way.
Okay, well, I'll feel better if you feel better.
Yeah.
And Mr. Eddington does.
And it should be suspended until our second meeting in April then, in order to allow the 20 days.
I'll get these sent out tomorrow and get it in the paper.
And
And
the
that-
other option that we do in the legal world that might work is a consent and waiver. There are a lot of timing limitations and notices that are required in probates. With there being only 3 landowners, one option would be to approach them and ask if they want to consent and waive the 20-day notice, and we could be here 2 weeks earlier, but that 2 weeks is probably not that important. It doesn't appear.
All right, well, I agree with you, Mr. Eddington, that if you had a consent and waiver that was properly worded for these 3 landowners, that would mitigate the issue of sending by certified mail, because they
Yeah.
waive and consent and waive. So that's an option. So I guess here tonight, I'm looking for a motion to suspend the petition for annexation set forth in item D. I think that's simple enough. Do I have a motion to do that?
Would it be a table or a suspension?
Yeah, you can table it. Yeah,
Okay.
either
Put it
way.
on the table until.
We're just not going to take action.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I would move to.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilman Deal to table in item D, the petition for annexation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilman Patterson. Any further discussion, gentlemen? All those in favor of tabling item number D, the petition for annexation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, petition for annexation is tabled.
I just have one question for Mr. Estes.
Yes, sir.
Isn't there a statute or something in the city that says any piece of property has to have like sidewalks or streets around it?
When they build, yeah.
But that wouldn't apply to this because they're not
We
building
wouldn't
anything?
do it here. They're doing no improvements here, and there's no, really, as for residentials and stuff like that, they'll do an improvement district. Yeah, but like on a new home, they'll always have to put the sidewalks in.
But this is an R zone, isn't it?
No, this would be an I-1.
Well, this is an I-1.
Light industrial is what we've picked for it.
Okay.
Mayor, along with that, items 5 and 6 would no longer be needed until we get this petition approved.
All right. Well, we've tabled item D, so that was in a public hearing, and the clearing was closed, and the council voted to table it. So council will return now to regular session. And I think, well,
Do you want me to move to table these?
item 5 and 6, I'd accept that motion, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to table number 5 and 6, ordinance first reading and for the wireless editions.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Patterson to table items 5 and 6 regarding annexing wireless edition and rezoning it. And
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of tabling item 5 and 6 as set forth on the agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, items 5 and 6 are tabled. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is item number 7. Award bid, 1 new police SUV. Staff recommends awarding the bid to Bob Ruart Motors of Wheatland, Wyoming in the amount of $32,495. And I would call on Chief Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We put out a bid request for a broad-based bid on a police SUV. Received 2 bids. One of them was for a 2025 Ford Explorer, and one of them came in as a 2025 Ford Explorer, and the other came in as a 2024 Durango police SUV. Based on the pricing and availability, we are recommending to move forward with the purchase of the Dodge. I never thought I would say those words, and my grandfather is probably rolling in his grave right now, but that is the recommendation that we came to.
All right. And I would call on Mrs. Strecker. Any input from our treasurer?
I think he covered it. Thank you.
Gentlemen, any questions for Chief Johnson or Clerk Strecker, either one?
I just wonder, is the Durango that have the durability of the Ford?
They're both a police package and both designed for police work. They both have comparable V6 engines. I had questions about the Dodge, and frankly, had a hard time getting over them. But we reached out to our folks at the Highway Patrol, and they have reported really good reliability there. To be honest, we're dealing with some recall issues and some other troubles with our Fords right now. In talking to our mechanic, he says that they're kind of comparable from a reliability standpoint. There are pluses and minuses to each of the vehicles. But broadly, we think they're both going to be very suitable to operate as patrol cars here in Torrington.
And they're full-time four-wheel drive? All-wheel drive?
They're
I
an
guess.
all-wheel drive option, and both of them, I mean, both of the proposed and our bid request was for a V6, not a turbo V6 because we do a lot of idling and a lot of low-speed operation, but a direct injection V6. We think that gives us the best possible reliability and longevity for the cars. And then both of them have the 5-year minimum 60,000 mile warranty available.
I
But
see
it
these are all,
is the actual Dodge police package, right?
Yes, it is a true police package. They offer two options, the 5.7 V8 and the 3.0 liter, I think it's maybe a 3.3 liter V6. And we chose the 3.3 liter V6. We don't need a 5.7 liter Hemi to get around Torrington.
You gotta think about resaleability.
And fun for driving, but not necessary. So,
I see the delivery date, it's almost going to be a Christmas present for you guys.
you know, we've made some phone calls on that. I mean, the Ford is a 2025 model, and I think that's going to be a minimum of 6 months out. In talking to the staff at the Dodge dealer, obviously they have to put a date out there that they're 100% confident they can meet, but there's a good possibility we're going to be looking at closer to 90 days on getting that delivered. So that would, I mean, that feasibly puts us in this budget year, or at least we have a possibility of being in this budget year, which would be an advantage.
That's good news compared to what we've been hearing about
No,
delivery.
no guarantees on that, and obviously they can't promise that their bid statement gives them up to 180 days, but she's cautiously optimistic that she can do better than that.
And this indeed is the low bid. There were two bids, and this is the low one.
Yes.
Now, since this is a Dodge chassis instead of Ford, is that gonna make the lights and radios and everything else more expensive than the Fords?
You know, I don't think so. I think the thing that's making the build more expensive is inflation. It's pretty, I mean, the Dodge and the Ford are both very commonly used patrol vehicles, so there's a lot of law enforcement equipment available for them. We had a preliminary quote from Absolute Solutions, who has built our last three. We've been very happy with their work. And they were in the neighborhood of about $15,000 to build a Dodge, which was comparable to the Ford. There were some increases in pricing, but I believe that was more a nexus to inflationary pressures than it was to the difference between between the Dodge or the Ford.
Is this vehicle white, black, red,
White,
white,
yes. We
black with white doors?
Assistant Chief Conley would like to would probably like to string me up over that, but we did opt to go for the white vehicle with black decals.
He's the all-black guy.
He prefers all black vehicles.
Is he washing that good too?
I found it interesting that it was the Dodge dealer that had less for the trade-in, so they're less excited about that Dodge Charger you're trading in.
No comment, sir.
The dealers are brothers. And so I think that's interesting too. They probably
Yeah.
met in the alley and had it out or something.
All right, any further questions, gentlemen? If not, I would entertain a motion on item 7 to approve the bid on the new police SUV.
I think it's my turn again, so I'll make a motion to approve the bid as requested by or as pointed out by the city.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve and award the bid set forth in item 7. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kelly. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor on item 7 of approving and awarding the bid signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that bid is approved. Next item on the agenda is item number 8, 2024 swimming pool rates. And I'll make this simple. There was a meeting of all those interested in the pool, municipal pool, and including the new pool manager and Mrs. Strecker, myself, Bobby Dawkins, and several others. Dennis Estes was there. I don't remember who all was there, but several people. And we discussed pool rates. And the conclusion was we didn't raise the rates last year, to my recollection. And we thought for this year, we probably ought not raise the rates either. So these are the same rates that were in place last year, as set forth in your item attached to your agenda. And you know, everybody's being hit hard by inflation, and I think people that are raising families and aren't wealthy people are really being hit hard with groceries and fuel and housing costs and those sorts of things. And I don't really want to hit them hard with a swimming pool admission fee. So that's my reasoning on it. And this pool serves a lot of families here in town. It gets a lot of use, and I don't know where we'd be without it, frankly. For summertime, I can't imagine spending a summer in Torrington without a public pool. So it would be tough, especially since we don't have the irrigation ditch running through town anymore. So that would be my introduction to this item, and certainly I would stand for questions, or Mrs. Strecker would stand for questions.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the 2024 swimming pool rates as presented.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Patterson, and item number 8, to approve the 2024 swimming pool rates. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second from Councilman Deal. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the 2024 swimming pool rates as set forth in item 8 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, those 2024 swimming pool rates are approved. Nick?
I got one question of Mr. Estes, maybe. A while back, there was a question about a splash park or something over there by the pool. Did anything ever come of that?
I'm sorry?
Well, a while back, there was a discussion about a splash pad or something over there by the pool.
Yeah, we're working with Rotary on that.
Is that still in the works?
It's still in the works, yeah.
Okay,
Not a done deal by any means.
okay. That's all.
All right, thank you, sir. Item number 9, 2024 power cost adjustment, called the PCA, regarding electrical rates effective April 1, 2024, and I'd call on Mrs. Strecker, the clerk treasurer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Attached to your agenda was the filing that was filed with the PSC. We do this every year at this time after we are notified of the mean municipal energy rate of Nebraska, our Schedule M contract for wholesale power. Every year in January, they notify us of any changes in that rate. And it is going to slightly increase for mean for us. And also WAPA is scheduled to increase there as well. So we do see a slight increase in our rates this year with the filing, but it's not terrible. So if you look at the tariff sheet, towards the back in the red-lined area, if you look at residential, we have 2 rates, winter and summer. So the rate we're replacing is crossed out. So the old rate is, for winter is .078407 cents per kilowatt hour, and the new rate will be .079919. So I believe the increase is about 1.5% average across the board, which is pretty it's, this day and age, it's pretty good. But I'd stand for any questions. We should have the hearing scheduled here before April 1st, towards the end of March, so that can go into effect. But I'd like your approval of the filing so that we can move forward.
It just seems that given what happened statewide with Pacific Power and Pacific Core and all that, this is remarkable that it's only that much of an increase, so.
Maine does a good job at trying to keep our rates low because they are represented by all of their communities. It's public power. And we have to go back and talk to our people. So, they're very conservative and, but I think Maine's doing fine. I think, we're all nonprofits and I think that makes a difference.
And again, this is just an application. It has to be approved
Right.
by the PSC.
Correct.
And we still don't know when that hearing date is going to be.
It hasn't been set yet, no.
But we expect it to be in March.
Yes. I'm bringing it to you so that once it is approved, we can go ahead and make it effective April 1st, as it is every year, so we stay on schedule.
But we can't approve it till the PSC does, right?
No, we can approve the filing. And if we approve the filing, and then PSC approves it, then it will go forward.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't pass on the rate until after it's approved, right?
Correct.
All you're requesting is council approve the application, which you're calling the filing.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I would make the motion to approve the submittal of the application for the PCA.
All right, I have a motion from Councilman Deal to approve the submittal of the application set forth in item 9 to the, known as the PCA. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Councilman Patterson. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the application set forth in item 2024, power cost adjustment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, that's approved. Thank you, Mrs. Strecker.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is approval of the bills from March 6, 2024 through March 19, 2024. And I believe Mrs. Strecker also handed out a supplemental sheet to everybody. I call on Mrs. Strecker. Anything you want to note or you just want to take questions?
I don't think there's anything unusual, but I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Well, if nobody has any questions, I'd make a motion to approve the bills as presented.
Right, I have a motion from Councilman Kelly on item 10 to approve the bills as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Deal. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the bills as set forth in item 10 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing no nays, the approval of the bills in item 10 is approved. Next item on the agenda is public comment, and I got a good report from Fire Chief Lance Petch. and I would invite him forward to give his report to council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So things kind of been so-so the last couple of weeks. Kind of the normal. We've had a few carbon monoxide calls, some fire alarms at some different places. Small grass fires at this time. I think there's kind of enough moisture. It's not letting stuff get up and get too crazy right now, but we have had a few controlled burns that weren't called in. We had one, I think about a week ago, was putting up some good smoke. Showed up, people were burning some stuff, but that's mostly what we've been dealing with lately. This last week, excuse me, we had what we call a Type 3 team meeting, and it's just the county fire warden gets together. We try to get representation from all the fire departments, and it's just kind of some of the older active people that maybe have a little more advanced training, and just kind of talked about some communication plans that we'd maybe like to try to get in place to help out, alleviate some issues with dispatch. Make their lives a little bit easier if we have multiple incidents going at once or one big one. So we're trying to work on some stuff like that, get some interoperability stuff going throughout the county, just so we have a good plan. If there's fires in different places, we kind of have a better plan as to what we're going to do. We have to include 2, 3, 4 or more agencies. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or...
So I have a question. Of your first item on the carbon monoxide, were those actually a risk, or was something going on, or was it the detectors going off, or?
One was the detector was going off, so the person called and asked us to come check it out. Typically, we'll have our detector, we'll check it and see what kind of readings that we do get. But initially, when we get paged, dispatch will get a hold of Black Hills as well, and they'll send a technician. They have a little bit better equipment. So if it's something major we can handle right away, typically we just go try to check stuff and we wait, kind of secure the scene until Black Hills gets there and let them make more of the decisions. But I think we had a little bit of both. One, there was maybe a little bit of readings. One was, I think maybe the detector had gone bad.
Because if you go back 20 years or so, nobody had those. Now, a lot of people have them, and I think they're required in new construction and stuff. So I just wondered if you were getting more alarms.
And, you know, they have the shelf life. I mean, they're good. They say for about 10 years. I actually had somebody call me and say, hey, seems like it's working still good. Can I just replace the batteries in it and keep using it? I said, well, I mean, I would feel more comfortable saying just to replace the unit because that's what manufacturing says. And I would assume sensitivity changes a little bit on those over the time. And, you know, I'd hate to have something happen and be like, well, the fire chief said it's good. But I just was like, let's, you know, cost of them, safety of them, you know, it's worth replacing.
So if you don't have them, you should probably.
Very much so. I mean, they're very important.
What's usually this, if there is carbon monoxide, is the source the furnace, usually?
Most of the time, but not always, you know.
Now, when you get a carbon monoxide call, does dispatch tell the people to leave the home
I think so. I think dispatch
and
asks
not open
them.
up your door and window and let
Right,
the
you know, I
fresh
think
air
they,
in?
maybe tell them to open the doors, get some fresh air, but at least to go outside or go to a neighbor's house until we get there to be able to check it out and give them a better idea of what we think it is.
Because I've heard they shouldn't open the doors and windows and let the fresh air in. They should leave it closed up. So you can actually check the carbon monoxide levels.
Okay, well, yeah, to try to keep the levels. A lot of times the fuse will go or they'll trip that, they'll shut the breaker, you know, to shut the furnace off. Or so if that happens, you know, we may turn it back on to see if we get readings, but yeah.
Just wondering how they did that.
Yeah, we definitely don't want you to hang out there. So.
Stay tuned.
And depending on the people, you know, if they're like, man, we've got headaches, we're feeling sick or whatnot, a lot of times we'll ask the ambulance to come as well and check them out. But then as they get outside and they get the fresh air, they typically start to feel better really pretty quick. So.
And again, we repeat ourselves constantly on the controlled burns. Please call dispatch if you're going to have a controlled burn, and then someone doesn't end up calling it in as a fire. So please, everybody that's listening, if you're going to control burn, let dispatch know. 532-7001.
It is appreciated. Because that's usually how it'll say, you know, we have a report of smoke in this area. We don't have any controlled burns on the board, so, you know. And then when we get there, we typically ask them, hey, we'll let dispatch know right now, but please let them know when you're finished. You know, we'll tell them. So then when you're done, let them know so they know as well.
All right, gentlemen, any further questions for the fire chief?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And we still are open for public comment. If there's anybody out there that has a public comment, come forward. If council is entitled to make any comments they want to make, if they have any.
Torrington's a great place to live.
Okay.
There you go.
We'll end on that high note. Okay.
Is that Torrington, Wyoming, or Torrington, Connecticut?
No, it's Torrington, Wyoming.
All right. Well, we have finished the entire agenda, completed it, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.